Hi, I'm Josh Bartel, CEO of Hydrian. Today, I'm going to talk about import tariffs and three things that we're seeing among our clients and strategies we're using to help them navigate this turbulent tariff environment. Even if you're not a Hydrian client yet, I hope that you get something out of this because I'm looking to give you actionable takeaways that you can use in your own business. The first thing that we're seeing is that there's a lot of price relief happening. About 80% of suppliers to our clients are offering some form of tariff price relief. When our clients are directly importing product, an importer might be impacted by, say, a 10% tariff. They then extend, for example, a 5% discount to our client. They're splitting the cost of the tariffs. If you import product directly and those imports are impacted by tariffs, hopefully you have already reached out to suppliers, but if not, do so and ask them for some kind of price relief. Even if you don't import product, your domestic sources are very likely considering price increases because more often than not, even domestic sources have some import component to their supply chain. In those cases, domestic sources usually have inventory they bought before tariffs went into effect, and they're willing to sell you that inventory at the old price for some period of time. So they might say, look, I'm going to have a 5% price increase, but it's not effective for another 30 days. You obviously want to use that period to stock up on your best sellers. The problem is all your competitors are doing the same thing. So in that environment, you just need to make sure that you get those orders in early. If you don't have that kind of an offer or incentive from your supplier, go out and ask for it because they'll probably work with you. And then just remember, they're usually only going to let that old pricing apply to what they actually ship you, not necessarily everything that you order from them before that deadline. So try and work with them to figure out, hey, how much of this product am I actually getting allocated? How much other demand is out there? Just to help you with your own planning. The second thing that we're seeing is, as you'd expect, people are running towards domestically manufactured products. They were importing products because of price advantages, but with some tariffs as high as 25% or more, those price advantages have in some cases gone away, especially when you consider all the hassles you already were dealing with, like long lead times and other import supply issues. Obviously, it's a good thing to have a diverse supply base. And during COVID, during the supply chain madness of that time, a lot of people began to develop relationships with domestic products so they could gap fill those buys that were being delayed from overseas, only as needed. But those relationships now are going to serve you really well because you're going to be able to reach out to those sources and figure out, hey, can you be my sole or primary supplier on this item? Even if you have that capability, there's a few things to keep in mind. One, these domestic sources are now in extremely high demand. That means prices are going up and lead times are going up. So in the end, you might actually find it's more practical or even more cost effective to continue buying from your import source and pay those tariffs. That's just something to keep in mind and keep a close eye on. The other thing we'd recommend is try and keep a hybrid approach. If you're importing a product, don't switch 100% of your purchasing to your domestic option. Keep some low level of buying with that import source because the truth is nobody knows how long these tariffs are going to last. Nobody knows what the domestic supply situation is going to look like and what its pricing is going to look like. So leaving some optionality is worth that small additional cost you'll incur by continuing to source at least some product from your old import source and paying tariffs on it. And the final thing I want to talk with you about is preparation for an economic downturn. In January, when we polled our clients, around 22% said they expected a recession in 2025. That number is now up to 48%. So half of our clients, and we're talking about senior executives at large distributors and online retailers, are expecting a recession in 2025. So how do you prepare from an inventory and a purchasing perspective? Here, lead time becomes really critical. For domestically sourced products with fast lead times, all you really need to do is make sure that you have a regularly updated forecast, that your inventory controls are constantly being updated, and that you have a responsive forecasting model. In other words, if you're just taking the average of the last 12 months for your forecast, that's a bad forecasting model at any time, but it's especially bad if you're in an uncertain or fluctuating demand environment. So have a responsive model and update inventory controls regularly. And then as demand declines or increases, your inventory is going to move right along with it in a healthy way. Now, what about your long lead time items? Those items which you continue to import, for example, that could have 6-month or longer lead times. Every PO you place is a bet about what you're going to sell over that extended lead time. And when we're talking about timelines or 6 months or more in the United States right now, as of March of 2025, it's a higher risk environment with a lot of uncertainty. So there's a few things you can do. First of all, that forecasting, adaptiveness, and responsiveness, that's always a good idea, even on those longer lead time items. So do that, certainly. But the second thing you should be doing is looking at those long lead time items and really asking yourself, where can I give up or trade service level or fill rate for inventory dollars? We'd recommend looking at that long tail of lower volume items, your C, D, your F items that you import that have long lead times, and target a much lower service level, bring those inventory levels down. Nobody likes stockouts, but for these sporadic sellers that don't contribute a ton of revenue overall, it's not worth the inventory investment it takes to maintain an extremely high service level in an uncertain environment. So pull things back a bit. And the final thing we'll talk about is open PO management. So you're placing these bets, placing these big POs on these long lead time items, but then let's say 2 months after you get a PO into your import source, demand has started to fall quickly, and you realize the world's a different place than when you placed that PO 2 months ago. Many times you can reach out to the supplier and modify that PO, reduce the quantity, push out its delivery date, get a workflow to have this kind of open PO management take place in place as soon as you can. Because if you know, who do you call the supplier to actually make this happen? What sort of timelines are acceptable? Can you modify a PO for the first 10 days, 30 days, 60 days, longer? Knowing those things in advance will allow you, if the world economy takes a turn for the worse, to move much more quickly and much more effectively than if you haven't set up these relationships and set up these workflows to adjust open POs when it makes sense. And of course, you're going to need good reporting to highlight areas where that's an opportunity, even if that capability exists. So those are the 3 things I wanted to talk about. Like I said, even if you're not a Hydrian client, I think there's strategies and ideas here that anyone can use that are helpful. I hope it helps you navigate the current environment and that you have a great day.